Now, I'm working with a few clients right now who are doing unit of measure updates. Those can be quite interesting, but we're not going to go into how you change it and none of that. I want to show you how intuitive BC is when it comes to their unit of measure. Now, in GP, we have, if you look to the left, to your left screen, in the unit of measure schedule. Now, again, this is a 1-2-1 type of set. And the same thing is true for BC, but it's a little bit different and a lot more intuitive. So here's my one item unit of measure schedule, and let me get you to one that has quite a few. Now, here are my equivalencies of this particular schedule. Now, if you want to get intuitive in the way you create your unit of measure schedules, that's fine. I'm very basic. I like to make sure pounds, gallons, ounces, so on and so forth. I'm going to do that on one of my, set up my main unit of measure schedule in BC. And then on my items card is where I go through and I update its equivalency. So let me show you that. So I'm on this, let's go back to my coconut oil. I love coconut oil. So I like to play around with what I could do with the different units of measure here. So if you notice, my base unit of measure is ounces. Now, if, let's go and look at the unit of measure list. So I'm cheating right now. When I say I'm cheating, I'm going from my items card to look at the full list of my unit of measure schedule. All right, so I'm gonna select from the full list. Now I can edit this list from here. But if you notice, I don't really have a place where I can add the equivalency of my ounces. Now, what I would need to do is add all of the equivalencies. So whatever unit of measure, schedule, or types that I'm using, I would have to make sure they're all listed here. But if you notice, I can't do a one-to-one like I'm doing over here in my GP window. So if I have a capacitor, then I have each packet case. I'm doing all that I need to do. But also, if you notice, here in BC, I have all of my unit of measure equivalencies listed here, but I don't have any quantities. See? So what I would need to do is set that up on my items card. So I would go to related, item, unit of measures, and now I can set up my equivalencies. So if my base unit of measure is ounces, I want to build up to my highest unit of measure depending on how I use my material. So me personally, it took me a little while to get used to this because of how simple it was in GP, but also I found it was so much more intuitive in BC because of the way it's doing it. Now I can go through and some of my items. So I want to say this. If I give 20 items in GP, the unit of measure schedule of capacitor, then they all will be able to look at this unit of measure schedule on my items. So let me show you what I mean by this. So if I go to inquiry, item stock, and let me go find, save that now. If I go to cap 100 and GP, I'll notice this is my unit of measure up here. So this is my base unit of measure, and base unit of measure meaning, okay, we have a couple of ways to look at this. This is my schedule, and inside of my schedule, I have my base. My base is always the first one, right? So with that being said, I can look at my displayed unit of measures. So I'll be able to look at this and however I set this up, right? Whereas in BC, it's item to item. It doesn't necessarily deal with the unit of measure schedule itself because I would set up my schedule on my card.